What's up? My name is Khalil Blue. I am an artist and organizer from Southeast San Diego and the producing artistic director for Agency 515, the Social Education Theater. Yeah, so my journey as a community organizer and artist has, I think, been lifelong. I'm born and raised in Southeast San Diego. I've been an artist my whole life. I think I started working professionally in the business like right out of high school. So I've been performing in this community for the last like well over a decade, and don't tell anybody that. But also, yeah, I've also had the opportunity to sort of work professionally as a community organizer, as a social worker, as a person in service to this community for the last 15 years. So art is the only thing that we have that sort of authentically captures people's stories and experiences. And it's one of those, I think if we're speaking perspective of people who live here and are from here, I think the way that artists sort of capture the history and sort of the hope and aspirations of who we are as San Diego residents and sort of the specificity around what it means to be from Southeast in San Diego, I think the role that arts play is critical, is paramount. It's without it, there's no us. Like I think most of what has been contributed to our community's healing and growth and all of the things that have developed over the last years has been born of our creativity and all of the things that we imagine ourselves and our region to potentially be. And I think the ways in which artists have been driving that conversation, setting vision, setting hope, setting narrative, setting change to our streets for my whole life. And that was definitely the draw for me when I saw that art had the power to move things. So the Southeast has like historically been an area designated for Black and Brown people, and so back in the day when our city was originally sort of redlined, we were placed and assigned in the designated area that we now call Southeastern Home. And I think that it was originally meant to be sort of a cage or a container for folks like us, and we turned it into a creative mecca, a hub of sort of a place that would hold our stories and sort of amplify all the things about who we are, who we really are, what we really believe in, our hopes, our dreams, our needs, and just sort of the culture and the vibrance and the beauty and brilliance of our people was coming out of this little corner of the city, and it blew up everywhere. And sort of, even though a lot of people, if you ask them where the Southeast is, most people will tell you they don't know, right? Most people will tell you they've never been there. But everybody in San Diego knows Southeast art. Everybody in San Diego knows Southeast artists. Everybody in San Diego knows our culture. They know our voice. They know our feel, our vibe, even if they may not know our part of town. And I think that just speaks to like the power of who we are, the strength of our community, and how much sort of San Diego as a whole relies on not only the art, but the artists and the people that come from Southeast San Diego. I think some of the challenges for artists in our community doing creative work are sort of similar to what makes us special. We're a small part of town, and most people don't know where they are even when they're there. And I think that what's challenging about that is that has created opportunities for folks outside of our region to reach into the Southeast when they need resources. So other folks, other places pull from our area pretty heavily for artists, for our narrative, for our work, but they don't pour back in. So we, as an artist, I've worked all over the city. I've probably been on just about every stage, every theater, every place here. And the place that I had the least opportunity to perform is where I grew up. The place where I had the least opportunity to be myself and to share my voice and to sort of be loud and proud about the Southeast is in the Southeast. And I think that that's the biggest challenge, that we're seen as a supportive resource to other spaces, but the rest of the city hasn't yet caught up to the value or importance of sort of fortifying the source itself. Like, we don't have enough like theater houses in San Diego to perform. We don't have enough. There isn't enough conversation in the city's narrative that encourages folks from other places to visit the Southeast specifically for the things that we offer. Even though if you go to downtown or you go to La Jolla or you go anywhere else that is heavily promoted as a space that's rich for art and culture, the conversations that are being had on those walls and in those spaces are actually Southeast conversations, and those dots are not being connected. Therefore, those resources, those voices, those artists are not being supported in equitable ways, because people just assume that the art comes from the spaces where it's on display, and that's just not true. People like me specifically, there are a lot of places in the city where my picture is on the wall, where folks may assume that I live in other spaces, or that I am representing other regions, or may have assumed that because in order to access my art, you have to go through a predominantly white institution or organization. They don't ever understand that in a lot of ways, unintendedly, I, as an artist and as a black-bodied individual, am being tokenized in other rooms and being, used to display or demonstrate what it looks like to have cultural diversity in another room, when the truth is that there's a little bit of a disconnection that happens, even though our art is used as a vehicle for folks to feel more connected to people like us and to the places that we tell our stories about. But there isn't any direct connection to how do you get to us? Where is home for me? Right? When I'm looking to speak directly to my community, when I would love to be able to walk around the Southeast and see my picture and see my voice and see my art represented the same way that it is in other parts of the community. I would love to see that where I am, so that kids at my high school or folks that live in my community that have an actual relationship with me, or that are navigating some of the things that I'm navigating with my identities in this region, could see like, hey, like that kid's like me, and he's from here, and he's doing all of these amazing things. And I just wish that there was more of that. Some ways that I would like to see a cultural plan support my community. I think there's so much really exciting opportunity that something like this can bring. There is like some positive movement. We just recently got a designation for a Black Arts and Culture District in Southeast. There's 9 blocks sort of dedicated to our voice and visibility. And I think that a cultural plan like this could really put some enforcement behind that and give some sort of guide to the powers that be, to set priority to really building out that district and really setting a place for our culture and for our art, where it belongs. And so that people don't have to go running or chasing or filtering through a bunch of things to find us. We have community, and I think that a cultural plan can do the work that, like, frankly has been previously promised but not prioritized to us. So many times we're sort of sharing our needs, or just always resourcing or trying to find a place where we can belong, a place where we can be, a place that we can borrow some space from others. And I think that this cultural plan could really ensure that we too have space, that we too have places that we belong, that the thing that's coming up for me, it's kind of like that FOMO thing that you feel, where it's like, if you're always going to other people's house for dinner, it's like you're happy to be invited, you're happy to have a meal, but it's like what you really long is like for that time that folks could come to your place, that you can cook for folks, that you can host them in your home and show like this is what we do here. Like I also have a home you can come to, and I think that for the first time in a long time, this cultural plan brings an opportunity to do that for us. That we can have a seat at a table that's ours, and we need that. And I think that also the whole city's talking about equity, the whole city's talking about diversity, the whole city's talking about inclusion. And I think we spend so much time talking about these themes as if it's something that we have to like build or create from scratch. And that's just not true. We have spaces like Southeast, like City Heights, like so many places that just already are diverse and that are already inclusive because they have to be, that are already equitable and foundation because equity is the baseline in places where a lot of people are sharing a little. So there's so much of the magic that other parts of the city are trying to learn. And I think if we, rather than trying to pull from those resources and expand them and stretch them to fit around other places that aren't necessarily practicing that so well, we could spend some time pouring resources into places that already have a lens on what that looked like, that are already doing equity in ways that the rest of the city can learn from. And I think that places like the Southeast could be a hub for not only like learning, but I think for growth and all of the things that the city as a whole is looking to expand itself into, right? We want to be a more inclusive space. We want to be a place that holds stories, that sort of gives an opportunity for everybody to have a better quality of life. And I think that there's just something that we have naturally and special, that a plan to say, hey, we care about this. We identify this place as something special, and we want to make sure that we're setting a plan to amplify that, to support that, to sustain that. I think not only will it help the Southeast and artists like me specifically, but in turn, it helps the entire city because as we already see, once, you can pull what we have and put it somewhere else and it makes that space better. But imagine the possibilities if you just made the space better where we are, and how does everyone in the Southeast having what they need support everyone in the city having what they need. And I believe that something like this that says we notice maybe our blind spots or our deficits, and we are sort of intentionally outlining a plan that says we're committed to no longer neglecting those things. I think it's exactly where we need to be as a city, and I think this plan can get us to where we all hope to go collectively. Yeah, I think in the Southeast there's a lot of collective action happening already. There's spaces like the Black Artist Collective, who just individually groups of artists that are doing whatever they can to like activate and amplify artists in our region. Things like that are happening. Their ECC, the Educational Cultural Complex, is about to go through this huge, beautiful renovation of their theater space, which promises to open up some opportunity for folks. So I'm excited about those things coming down the pike. Similarly, spaces like the Black Artists Collective are clamoring for spaces to be, right? And I think I would love to see more theater making spaces, more performance venues, places for live music. There's a lot, there used to be a lot of concert halls and a lot of places for like open mics and live instruments and things growing up, and like slowly but surely those things started disappearing, or buildings started closing, or things, and I would love to see places for live story to be told, and really we need safe gathering spaces. We need spaces where it's okay for us to be together outside of our homes, that don't look like just being outside at a park or in some place that like some parking lot where we've made something out of nothing, but some building infrastructure that says like, we built this for you all to be together. We need more of that. And I think our young people, we have spaces, like particularly Lincoln High School has a gorgeous theater facility, but our young people don't have access to it. Our artists don't have access to it. There isn't any art happening on that stage. So how does a cultural plan sort of support and enforce that, like, there's art happening where art should be happening, and that artists have access to those things. I would love to see more access opening up, and more things like our rec centers, and like even some of our park activities that are, most of the time when they're activated for like athletics or other things that are super important and valuable. But it's just like, I feel like if I wanted to play football, I could look outside and find 100 places to do that. If I wanted to sing, I would have to work a little harder. and I just think that we're at a place where it shouldn't have to be that hard.